documented. What I'm going to go through with you today is very, very documented. Please feel free. This is not going to be just a one-directional training. I want anybody, Ashley, Antley, Brittany, all of you, if you see things pop in the chat, because I won't be able to see it with my screen shared, let's answer those, and y'all can answer them because some of y'all are living it. Brittany's living the PCOS life right now, so she's got to always think of hearing from somebody that's dealing with it and now overcoming it is better than any science out there. But we are going to cover a lot of science, figure out what's going on in our bodies, what's triggering these things, and how to overcome it. And I truly believe, because of the experience I've now got with these skinny drops, and more importantly, the approved food list that goes along with it, the elimination and the addition of certain things in our diet can really help our bodies get on our side. So this picture here is a funny, but the reason they always say that comedians that are the funniest have ability to share real life things that everybody experiences. So we all know that what that lady's doing right there is not good for her. But we also know that she represents about 9.8 out of every 10 people on a daily basis before they find our company. We're busy. There's food on every gas station. Every fast food restaurant is at every corner. We don't have time to cook. There's a million reasons why we put things in our body. So I want to start with this. And this will help your brain visualize what you're about to hear. And I'm not a mechanic. You don't have to be a mechanic to understand this. But if you went out and bought a diesel truck and you pulled up to the gas station and you put unleaded gas in it, within about a mile or two, that truck is going to break down. And I don't have to be a mechanic to know that, because my unanalytical brain has done that before twice. And I found out very quickly that my diesel truck did not like unleaded gasoline, and it cost a lot of money to fix it. So your body is the same way. Your body needs a certain amount of nutrients, proteins, good fats. But it also, so I always say, to get a body well, you've got to give it what it needs. But equally as important, you've got to quit putting unleaded gas in a diesel truck. And that would be things like refined sugars of any type, simple carbohydrates without fibers attached, a multitude of toxins that a lot of you are putting in your body you don't even realize. I'm going to identify to you as we go through this, but all of it contributes to the issues that so many people are dealing with now. And you're going to see in a second, I've got the documentation that 1 in 10 women now are actually diagnosed with PCOS. And generally the diagnosis is way behind. So probably 2 in 10, maybe 3 in 10 are dealing with it. And the newest stats out there on metabolic syndrome, which is the precursor to type 2 diabetes, is 70% of adults are dealing with some form of metabolic syndrome. You're going to understand what that is in just a second if you don't know. So some of the references come from our top doctor that you're going to see here. And our top doctor, Dr. Strand here at Partner Co., has been a physician now approaching 50 years. His wife fell bedridden with fibromyalgia and rheumatoid arthritis when she was around 40. At that point, Dr. Strand is self-proclaimed, him saying it, that he knew nothing pro or negative against nutrition. He just knew nothing. And had an hour class in all of his years of college. But he said, what I did know was the prescription medications that we had put her on would probably shorten her lifespan. And I just wanted to find out if there were alternatives. So he went on a couple-year quest in research. When that research was done, he wrote his first book. And his first book was called What Your Doctor Doesn't Know About Nutrition That May Be Killing You. And that book has now sold 35 million copies. It became a passion of his. He went on to write a second book called Death by Prescription. And then my favorite book, if you just want to read how to be healthy, is Healthy for Life. It's not as catchy of a name, but the details of what you need to do on a daily basis are unbelievable in there. They're all on Amazon. But some of these first slides are Dr. Strand's slides that I've gotten from him when he spoke to different groups before. So I'm just going to reiterate a few things that he always says. And the biggest thing is that traditional medicine is really important, but it's very disease and drug oriented, meaning traditional medicine here in the West doesn't do a lot for prevention. Now, that doesn't mean every doctor is the same. There is a small percentage of doctors that are very knowledgeable on some preventative stuff. But then there's a lot of other doctors that they're just reactionary to you walking in there prescribing a medication to meet whatever they feel like you may be suffering from. And then traditional preventative medicine, meaning 20, 30 years ago, before it's become what it is today, they could do a little bit more early detection and different things. But true preventative medicine is really identifying before you have an issue how to equip the body to fight off diseases and not get them in the first place. And that's what we're going to really cover today. But what you have to understand, by the time you are diagnosed with PCOS, with cancer, with different issues that go on, metabolic syndrome, prediabetes, that it's been going on a long time in your body. Many times, years, it's been going on before you get your actual diagnosis. And the real issue is that some things that go on, for example, heart disease, which is the leading cause of death in our country, 1/3 of the time, the first time somebody knows they have an issue is sudden death. But I want to tell you, if you want to know some precursors, elevated blood sugar, tenfold increase in the chance of a cardiovascular event if you have elevated blood sugar. You don't even have to be a pre-diabetic. You just have to have elevated blood sugars for a period of time. High triglycerides. If you go to the doctor and your triglycerides are, say, above 300, and they're consistently there, that's a big time risk. And then we know other risks: drinking too much, smoking, a lot of different things can play in there. Parkinson's disease. By the time Alzheimer's or Parkinson's is diagnosed by a doctor, generally speaking, 80% of the brain cells are already damaged. So by the time you have a diagnosis, there's very little you can do. As a matter of fact, Alzheimer's, not Parkinson's, but Alzheimer's, by a lot of doctors in the know now that have some nutrition background to them, they actually call it type 3 diabetes. And this is very researchable. Just go throw it in Google, throw it in YouTube. You'll find a lot of doctors talking on it. So if you have type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetic or metabolic syndrome, you're running a dangerous race with developing one of those issues into time. And then cancer, almost all the quality doctors now agree that lots of times cancer requires a decade to really develop before it's diagnosed. We all have renegade cells, which are cancer cells in our body, but most of the time our body can deal with them and nothing ever comes of it. It's the renegade cells that our body loses the ability to deal with that actually develop as cancer, where we then have to start figuring out different ways of treatment. So a lot of times chronic disease is very slow coming on, whether it's PCOS, any of the things we're dealing with. And not always, everybody's got different genetics. Obviously, some people are more genetically inclined than others. I mean, you'll always find this 100-year-old person that smoked for 40 years. They were not genetically inclined to smoking to hurt them, but it still hurt them anyway. But most people aren't that lucky. Most people have got to pay close attention because their genetics are not designed in a way to fight off putting unleaded gasoline daily in a diesel truck. Which is what we do when we drive through McDonald's or grab a candy bar or eat something out of a bag or a box. We're putting unleaded in our diesel body. So what we're going to talk about today is first step therapy. This is what Dr. Strand and many doctors now call, before you're diagnosed with something, let's see if we can prevent it. Because as Dr. Strand says, preventing something is way easier than correcting it once you're actually diagnosed with it. And from a medical standpoint, just know that once you're diagnosed with something, we can never say you can even be cured. Actually, the legal thing is you get it in remission, but you can't cure it. You can take that for what it's worth. But we are going to go through some proactive things and identify. So we're going to get into our actual approved food lists in a bit. But any doctor ever that tells you our program is not good, run from them as fast as you can. Or personal trainer. Sometimes they say it because they don't know. They just think you're selling skinny drops and it's a magic pill and everybody's eating large pizzas and losing 100 pounds. But that's not going to happen. We all know that. We're a program. We're not a magic pill. So from a program standpoint, we are truly the best designed program out there, because you can take our program, be a little more strict and be a keto, can be paleo, you could be Mediterranean, which all now have a huge track record of a lot of different health benefits. Okay, so the purpose of the call was PCOS and insulin sensitivity. That's the whole premises of this call and how we can help it. So this came off the internet today because I did not know this stat in my head. But 1 in 10 women now have the diagnosis of PCOS. And these are the 5 root causes, according to the medical community, of PCOS. And that is insulin resistance. So remember, 70% of adults now have insulin sensitivity, metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is insulin resistance. Those two go together. And you're going to understand what insulin is in just a little bit. Elevated blood sugar, which always shows up when you have insulin resistance, is the number 1 creator of inflammation and pain in the body outside of injury. So if you lower blood sugar or lower sugar intake, inflammation is always going to reside. Stress is a major killer. I always say, you know, I'm a believer in Jesus. I don't know how people handle their stress without Jesus in their life, because sometimes I just have to turn a lot of things over to him. I don't know how you deal with it, but exercise is really good for dealing with it. Sometimes you can't eliminate it. It's just there. But I saw a thing on TikTok this morning, and it just said, you know, why do I wake up in the middle of the night and worry for 2 hours about 5 or 6 things I can't control? And the answer is because we're human. But you do have to self-correct that and deal with it. Hyperthyroidism, that means you have an elevated thyroid. I'm sorry, that means you have hypo is a low thyroid, hyper is a high thyroid, and then Hashimoto's is what they call the autoimmune disease of the thyroid, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, how our skinny drops really help address all 3 issues. And then the last thing is poor gut health. And I don't think I have a slide on this in this PowerPoint, but I will tell you that all of you guys that the probiotic that Dr. Pena brought to our company, it's not a selling point. It is a fact. It's the best probiotic in the market, and it's not even close to the most expensive one. It's crazy good. I encourage everyone to get on our probiotic. You can order a 3-pack for like $100, and it's very inexpensive. That is one thing Ashley takes every day. I think Ashley actually takes 2 a day. But just crazy results with it. I'm not going to get off track on it, but it's just a great, great product. Every single person on our weight loss program would benefit from improving their gut health. Okay, so now what separates what we call metabolic syndrome / insulin sensitivity from prediabetes or full-blown type 2 diabetes? Let me address the one thing that is type 1 diabetes. Type 1 is totally separate. We're not going into that world today, because type 1, your pancreas has died for whatever reason. We're not going to go there and discuss even reasons, but that is one thing we're not going to be able to affect at all with our program. Now, we can help that person's life a lot with the drops and with the approved food list, but they're still going to have to take insulin because their body doesn't even make it anymore. But the rest of them, prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, insulin sensitivity, are greatly affected by what you put in your mouth or you do not put in your mouth. But what separates them is really simple. So if your A1C stays below 5.7, and your fasting blood sugar stays below 99, you're a normal person. You have no issues. You're in the 30% of healthy people in our country right now as far as blood sugar is concerned. And that's usually the root cause of almost everything a person is dealing with. It all begins in that world. So then prediabetes, so between normal and prediabetes is where metabolic syndrome lives, insulin sensitivity. There's not even an exact marker there, what separates the two, because it depends on the doctor. But really, all that makes you a prediabetic is an actual number on their test. And you can see the numbers there. I won't read them off to you and waste your time or insult you that you can't read. And then if you become a full-blown type 2 diabetic, you can see all the doctor's done is see your numbers. So he says you're now a type 2 diabetic. Here's why you're a type 2 diabetic. Your A1C is above 6.5 and your fasting blood sugar is above 124. You're a type 2 diabetic by definition at that point. So you're normal, you're metabolic syndrome, insulin sensitivity, you're pre-diabetic, you're diabetic. And we're going to go into all the reasons for this in a second. We just have to establish what's going on. So when I said 70% of the country out there is dealing with some type of metabolic syndrome, insulin sensitivity right now, which we saw is a precursor to PCOS, that means these 5 things are going on in your body. High blood sugar doesn't have to be pre-diabetic level or even type 2 diabetic level. It's just elevated above normal. That a lot of times correlates into high blood pressure. It doesn't have to be super high. It just starts elevating higher. You have a low amount of the good cholesterol in your body. And I encourage you, if you don't get blood work done every 6 months, do it. Get your own blood work. Mark it against the drops. We can't use it a lot on social media because it can get us in trouble, but I'm talking about by the thousands people have gotten on our program and gone to their doctor, and every marker on their blood work has improved, to include me. I mean, my markers improved crazy amounts when I restarted the drops and did exactly what I'm about to teach you to do this past January. But you can see high triglycerides. I've already talked about that. If it's, elevated above 200, but when you get above 300 on triglycerides, your cardiovascular risk is really starting to skyrocket. And then that's going to really show up with men in their stomach area. So men will find their stomach starting to grow. And women a lot of times will find their hips starting to grow. That's the first 2 places the male and the female begin to store fat. Okay, now let's get into how do we prevent all this stuff. So, you know what? I'm going to come back to that slide in 1 second. I want you to understand insulin first, and then I'm going to go back to understanding it. Okay. So when you eat sugar, I don't care what it's called, monk's fruit. I don't care if it's called cane sugar. I don't care. There's 117 different names that sugar hides underneath. Sugar is sugar. When it hits your bloodstream, it is called glucose. And when that sugar hits your bloodstream, and by the way, all simple carbs without fiber attached immediately create sugar in the blood, glucose. That triggers the pancreas to release insulin. Very simplistic terms here. So if you're a medical person, don't hold my simplicity against me. I'm just making it simple for understanding. But for simplistic terms, insulin is a storage hormone. It's going to go into the blood, and it's going to go and take that blood sugar and put it one of 2 places. It's going to initially put it in your liver and muscle, where it's going to be called glycogen by the medical community. And then after that, it's going to put it as a fat cell. That's how we get fat, is our blood sugar is elevated to the point that there's more sugar than the liver and muscle needs, and the last place that insulin is going to store it is a fat cell. So insulin, that's its job. It's a good thing. If you're a bodybuilder, you'll find out that bodybuilders' diets a lot of times are very different than people who want health and longevity, because they need insulin spikes, because insulin is a storage hormone. They need that to grow in the off season before they start cutting up. All right, so let's go back now to this. So you have you have a couple of different, you have a phosphagen energy system too for sprinting and quick workouts. We're not going to go there, although that's my actual expertise with my master's degree, because I was in athletic performance. But for the normal everyday person, these are the 3 ways we get energy. We eat something that can convert to sugar, and it goes to the blood, and glucose is our energy source. It's a good thing. We want it. When that glucose is depleted, we then start burning glycogen, which is the stored sugar in the liver and muscle. When that is depleted, we burn a fat cell for energy. When you burn fat for energy, it creates what's called a ketone. That's where the ketogenic diet came from. That was truly, there's been two things I've seen in my lifetime that I wish I had been the one to do it. One is CrossFit. I was doing CrossFit workouts before there was a such thing as CrossFit, with Olympic lifting and circuits. Boyd Epley at University of Nebraska created what he called a metabolic circuit, which was CrossFit 30 years ago. And that was one of the people I studied. But CrossFit branded that type of workout. That guy became a 100 millionaire. The ketogenic diet did the same thing. So the ketogenic diet means you're burning fat for energy. So that the keto diet is really strict. They actually have you test with strips, and what they're testing for are ketones in your pee. Because if you've got ketones in your pee, you're burning fat for energy. But every diet on planet Earth must put you into a ketogenic state at some point, because that is what you're doing. You're burning fat for energy. That's how you lose the fat. So but the ketogenic diet tries to keep you there. Or what we call approved food list may not keep you burning fat 24 hours a day, but it's not nearly as restrictive, and it allows people to stay on it long term and live happy lives. Okay, so when we store energy, it goes in that order: blood, then liver, muscle, then fat. But when we burn energy, so when we store energy, it goes in that order. But when we're trying to get, let me back up. Let me re-say that. I don't want to be confusing. So when we eat food, it stores in that order. When we eat, it's going to be blood first, liver and glycogen second, fat third. But when we burn energy, meaning we're trying to lose weight, it will never get this out of order. So if you've cheated and you put simple carbs and sugar in your body, you're not going to burn fat. You're going to burn glucose. And until you burn that up, for a lot of us that maybe don't work out, it takes a while. And then when that burns up, you got to burn burn it out of your liver and muscle. It doesn't have to be completely depleted before you start burning fat or turning ketones into energy. But you're not going to get to that fat cell. Now, here's where the issues arise. If you have PCOS, if you have metabolic syndrome or insulin sensitivity, this process is very hampered for you. This process is what makes life not fair out here in the weight loss world, because some people can eat anything they want, and these energy systems are so proficient, they're just always burning through it, getting to fat cells and burning. But as I mentioned, 70% of the people have metabolic syndrome in our country today. That means, that whole terminology means this system right here does not work effectively. And this is where the whole basis of this call is going to start today. So the next 30 minutes now, we're going to help you fix this. Because if you have PCOS, if you have metabolic syndrome, you've got to be way stricter. Because when you allow that sugar in your blood, liver, and muscle to be replenished, you're sometimes 3 to 5 days out before you'll ever get back to burning a fat cell. That's the reason I spend at least 2 hours a day on three-way calls with people that think the drops aren't working. But they have underlying issues, and they're all sabotaging themselves. And you're going to see in a second many of them in the name of health, because the food industry is so wise of our knowledge bank. They're ahead of the curve for those that think they know things. Okay, so let's walk through all this now. Let me get back to the actual, I'm sorry. I had skipped a slide a minute ago. Okay, so here is the perpetual cycle. Sugar is more addicting than cocaine in the body. It is, there is a book, I highly recommend it. I listened to it on audio. I've actually listened to it 5 times now. And I think it's the book that helped me get my own health very close back to perfect again, because knowledge and discipline are 2 separate things. I've got the knowledge, but the discipline is where it counts, because the human body is always going to be reactive to what you do. So losing weight is difficult because it's not a one-time event. It's not a one-day event. It's not a one-week event. It's not a one-month event. It's a forever event. That's the reason we try to change lifestyle, not starve people to death and let them rebound twice as big. We have a true plan to allow people to enjoy the rest of their life with all of our recipe books. If you utilize them, you can have everything from cookies, brownies to pizza, because you're going to learn how to cook with the right ingredients. All right, but let's identify this first. If you are in that 70% of the world that has insulin sensitivity, metabolic syndrome, PCOS, other things, this is your perpetual cycle. What you do is you eat sugar, and you've got to understand, I'm going to identify this to you in a minute. Sugar is also simple carbs. It's all the same. It turns to glucose in the blood, but it's very, very addictive. So when you eat that, your blood sugar spikes. Dopamine releases. That's the addiction in the brain. That's where by the way, that book is called Bright Line Eating. It was written by a neurologist, and she actually put it under like all these microscopes, CAT scans, all these different things, PET scans. And she put sugar in the body and cocaine in the body and found out that dopamine levels and the brain lights up more on sugar than it does on cocaine. So what her whole book was written called Bright Line Eating, and this is the premises of her book. If you were a cocaine addict and you decide you don't want to be anymore and you enter rehab, but when you go in the front door, the first thing you ask is, can I have a cheat day? Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that if you're going to not be a cocaine addict anymore, having a cheat day even once a week is probably not in your best interest. It's probably going to cause some relapses and some problems. And then you say, well, what about once a month? Well, you can, but it's probably not in your best interest, because if you do, you're going to have a relapse and you're probably going to start craving it all over again. So until you get your body really healthy again, meaning far removed from an active PCOS body or insulin sensitivity or metabolic syndrome body, this is the cycle you live in. You eat, blood sugar spikes. Blood sugar spikes, pancreas releases insulin. What did we already learn? Insulin is a storage hormone. It goes and grabs that sugar, stores it in the liver, muscle, and in the fat cell. All right, here is the problem for people who have insulin sensitivity. Number one, the receptive factor on the cells isn't good. So the worse that is, that those receptive factors become, that what increasingly gets you to pre-diabetic and then type 2 diabetic range, because the more you abuse it, the worse they become. But here's the other issue. When you're unhealthy, 70% of us are, blood sugar never returns to normal. This is the problem. When you eat, especially in the morning time, anything that can spike your blood sugar, when that insulin releases and pulls that blood sugar down, it will never come to baseline. It's going below baseline. And when it goes below baseline, you now have uncontrollable desires. The best human, the most knowledgeable human, many times cannot overcome the desire, because when that blood sugar is below baseline, you got a headache, you're weak, you're tired, you don't feel like doing anything, you're brain fog. Because remember, you're not burning fat. You got no energy. You're out. Like, your body is just dead in the water right now, because your body doesn't switch energy systems like a healthy person does. So you're below baseline, you don't have a fat cell you can burn yet. And what happens is that blood sugar is falling rapidly. And what do? If you've started your day with sugar of any sort, you're now reaching the rest of the day to feed your addiction, to get that blood sugar back up. It's a perpetual cycle that even the drops can't break. The hunger and cravings just become uncontrollable. So that's the reason that when people come to me that have issues, that I say, listen, if eating something bad for you does not make you gain weight. Remember, it's got to go through the same process: blood, liver, muscle, then fat. So eating bad for a day isn't a weight gain day, but it will absolutely keep you from losing weight many times for 3 to 5 days if you're have an unhealthy ability to switch these energy systems. So don't cheat if that's your goal. And you know, our clinical study with the drops and the approved food list show that women will lose a half a pound a day, men will lose 3/4. I've got a guy in my business right now. I've got a bunch of people that have done this. He had a lot of weight to lose. He started at 359, but as of today, he's 40 days and 61 pounds. And so he's way above the 3/4 pound a day average. But he went all in. He's eating perfect. He's got his body burning fat. So if he doesn't cheat, that's going to continue for a long time. But if he cheats, he may take him a week to get back on track again. All right, so this just reiterates there. I think I've already covered that slide because I had skipped ahead. Let me get over here now to so I'm going to show you a few pictures of people that were hard. I've got a lot of them, but some of these people you haven't seen before. Sid was a really good friend of mine when I came to this company 9 years ago. He followed us into this company. He was in the Next 56-Day group there with Steve Taglis and Kerry Hicks in North Carolina. But Sid lost 228 pounds with us. And I'm going to tell you some of his secrets as we go through this. But, you know, Sid had trouble. He couldn't wipe his butt. He couldn't tie his shoe. He was very handicapped at that size. His body was full-blown type 2 diabetic. Nothing was easy. He had to be all in to make that happen, but he did. And what I was going to say is once you make it happen, well, you still got to maintain a healthy lifestyle so you don't gain it back, but you can now have cheat days in moderation so you don't throw your body back out of balance again. But this is Chip. Chip is up in Nashville. He's the radio announcer from Middle Tennessee, but Chip lost 100 pounds with us in 6 months. I think he ended up losing like 150. Vern, you can see that he did that 80 pounds. He was actually one of the people in the clinical study. And females do the same thing. Another 100-pound female there. Okay, so now let's get to the solution. So the skinny drops have so much science behind them. I'm not going into the details today because I don't say anything that anybody would be upset about us for saying. So the skinny drops are going to be doing a lot of things from a natural standpoint in your body. There are ingredients in there that are shown naturally to help your thyroid come into balance. There's some ingredients in there, and you can do your own research here, that are shown naturally to help blood sugar stabilize. There are some ingredients in there that stimulate detoxification in the body. You're going to see in just a second the importance of that. The other bottle, the red bottle, has got the B12, the rhodiola, the ashwagandha. They're all have tremendous, a lot of them clinical research, especially the B12 and the ashwagandha, showing the ability to help with stress and anxiety, with mood, with energy levels, with boosted metabolism. So these drops don't, because you put them underneath your tongue, don't make you lose weight. They get your body way more adapted to losing weight if you then follow the principles of how to lose weight. Every diet's got to follow the same principles. I don't care what you call it. You've got to get your body, the 3 energy systems in order and get your body burning fat. So these drops just do they really, as a matter of fact, our clinical study shows it. One of the neat things, if you read that clinical study out there that it showed is the placebo group in the clinical study, and I'm saying this off the top of my head, but I think it was like 40% of the placebo group dropped out because they just didn't have the discipline to follow the approved food list. But the ones that stuck with it, the drops, compared to just eating the approved food list by itself, elevated weight loss 3-fold, meaning people that took the drops and ate the approved food list lost 3 times more weight than the placebo group just eating the approved food list. But to me, the marker was the 40% that didn't finish the trial because they lost the discipline along the way. And the percentage of people taking the drops may have identified, but it was nominal that dropped out. Okay, so let's begin with the approved food list. Like, Like, this wasn't just randomly thrown on a piece of paper. This is what's called a low glycemic food index. If you don't know about that, research it. Just go Google it. Low glycemic food index, and you'll get a real, I encourage you to print it off and put it on your thing, and you'll see exactly where every food lies on spiking your sugar. That's what the low glycemic food index is. So all of these foods on this list do not spike blood sugar. Will it spike some? Anything you eat, even straight protein will spike it some, but it doesn't like spike, where it creates crazy things going on in the body. So it's full of lean meats. We're gonna go through this carefully, but the body desperately needs healthy fats. It goes against everything that the doctors were saying in the 70s and 80s that are still out there circulating today. But the only approved oil that the doctors had that working with the drops initially, not even coconut oil, not even olive oil, but olive oil is not bad for you. But the only approved oil was coconut oil. And it's got to be unpasteurized. You can't buy the $5 can. You got to buy like the $12 to $15 can. You can get it on Amazon. But a lot of our top doctors would always tell people, put coconut oil or MCT oil in your coffee, eat a spoonful of it a day, especially if you're a woman. Your body needs that healthy fats. It is high calories. You don't want to overdo it, but your body needs the healthy fats. Raw almonds, walnuts, pumpkin, all of that is healthy fats you need in your body, big time. The only fruits that are approved in the weight loss phase, not maintenance, but weight loss phase, are the apples and the berries. I would even stay away. You can't drink grapefruit juice if you have an issue going on. If you're healthy, losing weight, you can, as long as it's fresh squeezed, not pasteurizing bulk. But I would never do it with the 70% of the people that have metabolic syndrome, because it's going any type of liquid sugar or artificial sweetener is going to spike blood sugar. Artificial sweeteners spike it the same as sugar. We'll talk about that in 1 second. So, I've helped all kind of women realize that they're putting a banana in their smoothie and calling it health when they're putting 35 grams of sugar in their body to start their day. They might as well have eaten a Snickers bar, because the blood can't differentiate sugar. Is the banana better for you than a Snickers bar? Well, yes, but we're not talking about just health. We're talking about weight loss. So weight loss always follows a set of laws, and the 35 grams of sugar that comes from the banana or the Snickers bar is the same sugar called glucose in the blood, liver, and muscle, and stored as a fat cell. And then the healthy vegetables there are some other things there that you can add in, but none that would be in a bag or a box. Bags and boxes are eliminated from your life if you're dead serious about this. And we're going to move to that now. So the food industry is aware that you're aware. So I will tell you, anything that you read on the front of a bag or a box is a 100% lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a legal lie to get you to buy their product and get their stock prices to rise. I don't think they're probably bad people. I don't know that. I don't know any of them. But I do think that the only thing they care about is money. And they care more about money than causing us health problems. So they will absolutely manipulate us on every bog and back box out there. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell this quick story here. Many people probably on this call think Triscuits or Wheat Thins are a health product. I have people tell me that all the time. Well, I do Wheat Thins, not whatever. Triscuits and Wheat Thins are made by Nabisco. Nabisco ships in 11 million pounds of sugar a day via train. There is a gentleman, his name is John Morris. He retired after 35 years with Nabisco. He shared with us that about 50% of the people that work at Nabisco wear insulin pumps. I wonder why. There's a true correlation there to the amount of sugar going in their body. But just turn Triscuits or Wheat Thins over and actually read the label, which I'm about to teach you how to do, and you'll see it's just as bad as the Oreo cookie you're eating. Sugar hides in everything. Ketchup, salad dressings. Matter of fact, if you were to go Google the ingredients in this salad dressing, although it's light, that's the selling point. Ranch light, not regular ranch, but it still has as you can see on there, 2 grams of sugar, no fiber. Fiber can negate sugar. So if it had 2 grams of fiber, it would be okay product, but it has none. So it's 2 grams of sugar, which is not detrimental, but very few people, this is the part of the label you have to learn how to read, and that is the serving size. And the serving size, there it is, 2 tablespoons. So most people use way more than 2 tablespoons. So if you're a normal person, you're probably putting 6 tablespoons on a salad. So that gives you, now you're up to 6 grams of sugar. So if you did that one time during the day, is that detrimental? No. But remember, your day is cumulative. So all of these sabotaging things add up over time. Again, how to read a label. So you pick this up, you look at it, you say, oh, okay, it's got 23 grams of sugar. If you're in the ketogenic diet, their mantra is 25 grams of less of sugar or simple carbs a day. We're not quite that strict. You could probably do 40 here and be okay. If you're not crazy sick, if you're sick, I would do as least as possible. But here's the problem. People buy that as a serving. It's 4 servings. So if I went in and bought what I thought was a serving and I glanced at that thinking I'm getting 23 grams, I'm not. I'm getting 100 grams of sugar for eating that bucket of ice cream. And it's not a bucket. It's not like a half a gallon. That's like those little bitty things you buy at the gas station. Bread. No such thing as a healthy bread unless you buy it in the frozen food section or make it yourself. In the frozen food section, you will find Ezekiel bread and a few other things that are better. Maybe not perfect, but way better. You can have a little bit of that. But if it's on a store shelf, you can't have it. There is no such thing as a healthy bread. Just read the back of the label. 8 grams of sugar per loaf. Now, here's the real stupid stuff. You go to McDonald's and you order a freaking salad at McDonald's. Who would do that? But people do it all day, every day. But they do it because they would much rather have the Big Mac or the hamburger or whatever. They're doing it in the name of health. But look at it. A Caesar salad at McDonald's has more sodium and fat in it. This is not the healthy fat. This is the saturated fat, bad for you. And it has more calories than the Big Mac does. So you got to learn to read that part of the deal, not look at what you think they're trying to tell you. And this is how life has changed. You know, McDonald's for our grandparents didn't exist. So they ate a lot of things from the garden or the tree or whatever, the farmer's market, grew it themselves. So you used to could eat 4, 8, 12, 16, 18 apples in a day, and that would be the equivalent to one drive-through meal at McDonald's. So we wonder why our blood sugar, why 70% of the world walks around with metabolic syndrome, because it's not McDonald's. We're just picking on them. It's every fast food restaurant. It's all of them. There is no such thing as a healthy one, to include Chick-fil-A. If you want to be frightened to death, Google what's in Popeye's chicken. What's in Chick-fil-A chicken? You would think chicken and whatever they coat it with to do whatever they do with it. But no, I think Popeye's chicken has 49 ingredients, and like 40 of them are known carcinogens. So it's really scary if you actually do your own research. Okay, some healthy fats to go along with our approved food list, just to let you see them again. The nuts can be high in calories. You got to be a little careful with them, but they are your crunch. Macadamia nuts is the one that's truly approved in the keto diet. But with us, raw almonds, walnuts, really everything but peanuts. Peanuts are not grown in a tree. They're actually grown in the ground. They have put a lot of stuff on there that's known carcinogens to make the peanut, because it sits in the field for a while after it's grown. So the only one that we don't allow is peanuts, but the rest of them you can see there are good. Starting your day with an avocado and an egg. There's no better way on planet Earth to start it. Putting some chia seeds in your Pure Nourish meal replacement shake in the morning is way better than just putting a berry or black things in there, because they're really good. They're good fiber. Flax seeds, really good. Olive oil is good as a healthy fat. But again, if weight loss is a true goal, coconut oil is way better. Just another look at olive oils. I put this up there because the MCT oil was something that really came about in the ketogenic era, the keto diet era. You can order MCT oil, which is a squeezable form that you can put in your coffee. They call it fat bombs. You know, there's crazy misinformation out there. Dairy, generally speaking, is very bad for you. There's nobody on planet Earth that should be drinking milk that's an adult. We're not going to go into all the reasons why. We'll keep it simple. And that is that it has about 12 to 18 calories of sugar in it. 12 to 18 grams of sugar in it, but there's all kind of other issues with it, from hormones to you name it. But now butter is a different story. There's so much new science now showing that we need some healthy fats. The butter is so much better than any like the number one thing you've got to get out of your diet. And I don't even have it on this slideshow, are the saturated oils, which are what all fast food's cooked in. Peanut oil, vegetable oil, they're killing you. They absolutely destroy your cells. They're a precursor to metabolic syndrome. They're the ones that damage those cell receptors with insulin. Get away from the oils. Remember, coconut oil with us is the only one approved. Second best is olive oil, and then you can do a few things like walnut oil, avocado oil. But again, when I ask our top doctors, they always go back to coconut oil, unpasteurized. So you'll look now, I pulled this off for this training today from the internet to show you how it lines up with our approved food list. The only thing not on our approved food list, we don't have a lot of, as a matter of fact, I'm going to disagree with this a little bit, because my personal opinion, there's no such thing as a healthy grain, because all grains convert to sugar, 100% of them. So a great substitute for people who like their white potatoes, who like their white rice with their dinners and different things, you have two choices. One is a sweet potato with butter, with cinnamon, no sugar. Brown sugar is the same as regular sugar, just so you'll know, it's all the same. But the other great one, in my opinion, the best one is Ashley, help me. What is the seed one we get? Mine is just blank. Right. Quinoa. Thank you. Quinoa. Quinoa is the best. It'll be right next to the rice in every grocery store. But quinoa is actually a seed, not a grain. So the conversion of that to sugar is much, much different. It's got more fiber attached. It's just way, way, way better. So quinoa, you can go to Pinterest. You can do it cold. You can do it hot. There's 1,000 different recipes for quinoa out there. All right, next point, because some people go from drinking Coke or Mountain Dew to Diet Mountain Dew or Diet Coke. So we're going to move a little bit, talk about toxins, because toxins are also an issue feeding this PCOS, insulin sensitivity world, not to include all the other diseases that people are developing that used to not really be in play. But it's terrible. It's a neurotoxin. It's terrible for you. You just cannot imagine how bad it is for you. It's in everything that's diet. It's never put one of those packets in your mouth. They're terrible for you. But from an insulin sensitivity standpoint, those all spike insulin the same. It's not putting sugar in your body, but it's still spiking insulin. So it causes lots of problems. Stay away from them. Stay away from them. Stay away from them. Some other places that a lot of toxins hide, or especially on women, we have an epidemic of breast cancer in the world today and other things. And the reason for that is deodorants, shampoos, conditioners, lotions. The skin actually absorbs nutrients into the bloodstream equally as good as your digestive system. So if you rub it on the skin, it's going in your blood in seconds. These are just some that I pulled off the internet. Do your own research. Go in your shower, go in your bathroom. Go to your ingredient list of what you're putting on your body. You throw it in Google. You find out what you're putting in your body. And when it's listed as a known carcinogen, well, could it cause cancer? That's what a carcinogen is, a potential cancer creator. But more importantly, always visualize it this way. You're putting unleaded gas in your diesel truck, and it's about to break down at some point. You cannot do it over and over and over without an issue arising at some point. So these are some of the big ones that you want to avoid. They're in so many different things. They're everywhere. Screenshot that page if you can. I can decimate this PowerPoint out. It may be Monday before I get it decimated out, because I would have to change it to PowerPoint, upload it to Dropbox. We'll get it out. Anthony will help us with that on the IPA call Monday. Toothpaste, really scary. My wife and I even argue about this a little bit because the good toothpaste are more expensive. And but it's pretty evident when you flip your toothpaste bottle over in your bathroom and read it, and it says, if you ingest it, call the Poison Control Center. So again, every day, how do we do our drops? We always say that when you swallow it, very little is absorbed. It's all sublingually absorbed. So if I'm brushing my teeth a time or two a day, and I'm putting these known carcinogens in my body a time or two a day, and I do it for year over year, decade over decade, it's a cumulative effect. The reason I'm having to talk about all this, because it all matters. Every bit of it matters in your journey to have a good, healthy body. So these are things that are not on our approved food list. And I'm going to go through these and tell you what you can't even. I would get rid of gluten. I just would, whether you're gluten intolerant or not. But if you're having problems, a lot of people have gluten sensitivities and don't realize it. So this is what's called the elimination diet, to get rid of allergies, feeling bad, inflammatory. You eliminate these foods first. And then if weight loss not is a goal, some of them can go back in. Dairy, no exception. Get rid of dairy. Can you have a bite of cheese every now and then? Sure you can. It doesn't spike blood sugar. It's not sugar. It's not a simple carb. Just don't overdo it. Soy's got to go, of all kinds. Soy, there is no such thing. All soybeans now, they're all genetically modified. If you've not heard of GMO or genetically modified, go look it up. It'll scare you to death what our food industry is doing to us, our scientists and our government. Pretty crazy, but they're genetically modifying what God made, trying to make it better, and it's just making it worse. So there's no such thing as a healthy soybean anymore. It really, really is a hormone disruptor in women, probably the biggest one. So if you're having hormone problems, identify any and all soy in your diet and get rid of it. Whatever you do, for God's sake, never take a soy-based protein. Yeah. Shellfish, if you go back to the Bible in the Old Testament, we were told in the Old Testament not to eat shellfish or pork. And today's science backs it up. Both shellfish and pork are known toxins. They're bottom feeders, and our body sometimes has a hard time dealing with them. Shrimp and pork and alcohol are the three cursors to gout and other things that flare up in the body. So can you eat shrimp and lose weight? Absolutely you can. So if it's not bothering you and you want to eat one, I do, maybe once a month. I love it, but I don't do it regular. I don't want those toxins in my body every day, but I can do it and not gain weight. Peanuts, outlawed. Eggs and avocados, if you're going to eat breakfast, are the best way to start your day. But a ton of people have egg sensitivity. So if you're dealing with issues, these are the things you want to remove from your diet and then start slowly adding them back in and figure out what's triggering it. So, for losing weight, I love eggs. But if you're dealing with things like PCOS and other issues, migraines, headaches, eggs could be a precursor of some of that. And then sugar is the outlaw. Sugar is the devil. It's just terrible, 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 terrible for our bodies. All right, next thing. And all of this matters. You can't, when I get 5 minutes with a person to fix their health, it's hard because all of this layers on top of each other if I'm trying to live, as Dr. Strand says, healthy body for life. So the number one thing to understand is your body. Everyone's a little different, but this one says 70%, 75%. I've heard it's 80%, but it's way, way, way majority water. Your brain, I think, is 90% water. So you can't drink enough. Half your body weight in ounces is the minimum. That's the minimum. And I try to get people to understand this that hate water because they're always wanting to flavor it. So I always tell a person, imagine if you're a mom and your kids all have white T-shirts and you throw them in the washing machine and you put in water and then you put a little of that, miso purple stuff, make it taste great. Go ahead and put that in your wash while you're washing your white T-shirts. or whatever it may be that you're asking about. Look at your coffee cup after you've been making coffee and see the stain at the bottom of that cup. You have got to give your body clean, preferably filtered water. We have a really good filter at Partner Co. We don't ever talk about it, but it does filter 99.99. I think it's to this power of 6. We have a great filter. I use it all the time. You can put, some inexpensive filters in your house, all kind of different ways to do that. But filter, I actually, in the morning time, I actually do dehydrated water, whatever the name of that is. I forgot what you call it, but I've got the little machine that does it. There's some negative stuff if you read up on it because it takes the minerals and stuff out too. But I want my morning to start with a cleanse. Because my liver, your liver, our kidneys, they've all been detoxifying our body all night long. That's their job. So when you wake up in the morning, all these toxins have been dealt with in your bloodstream and your body that you acquired yesterday. And then a lot of us wake up and we eat, we drink coffee, we never flush, we never wash the white t-shirt. We just add back to the problem. And then we wonder why we start getting sick and not feeling good and having migraines and getting diagnosed with all these stupid things that we shouldn't be having. Clean your body. Clean it, clean it, clean it, clean it. Water is the catalyst also. It's got to be present for fat burning to take place. It's a part of, it's a catalyst in what they call the ATP process, the adenosine triphosphate, where we make energy. So it makes up 83% of your blood. So drink, drink, drink. So again, half your body weight in ounces. We probably don't talk about it enough, but all of your customers that are taking the skinny drops have to be drinking their water. It will cause problems if they don't. Some warning signs that you're not drinking enough water. The number one cause of headaches is dehydration. Number 2 is lack of magnesium. Number 3 is artificial sweeteners. So if you can cure 90% of all migraines in the world by addressing those 3 things. Keeping the body hydrated, getting a good form. We have the Magna-Cal D here at Partner Co., which I think is one of the best ones out there because it's got the D3 and K2 in there also. But adding a magnesium to your diet, especially if you're a woman, and then removing artificial sweeteners. Ashley, my wife, had some migraines years ago that we and then later on she had some more that were in that 10% range, which were more hormonally caused, which the drops really help with that. But bad breath, sign of dehydration. Constipation, other digestive issues. Low energy, dehydrated. Dehydration, going to increase inflammation in the body. And there's what I said. I forgot what I said about the brain a minute ago, but there's the acronym. The brain is 70%, the lungs is 90%. You can see what that says there about the water intake. Okay, going back to starting your day. Everybody I talk to individually that really want to understand, I always tell them to add this to their program. Wake up in the morning. The first thing you do when you get out of bed is you drink a big glass of water as your stomach will allow. For me, that's about 20 ounces. Could be 8 ounces if you're a small woman. There is not an exact amount. The most you can do. I'm talking about before you brush your teeth, before you go to the bathroom. It's the first thing you do. To even make that better, squeeze a lemon and or a lime. Up to you. Whole lemon, whole lime, half lemon, half lime. Doesn't make me any difference. More's better, but I don't know that there's any science behind that. But both of those stimulate detoxification in the body. So after that, goes through your stomach a little bit. Everybody's different. For me, it's about 15 to 20 minutes. I actually will drink my water. I will catch up a little bit on text and stuff. And then as soon as I can, I'll go back and do 20 ounces again. My second 20 ounces has apple cider vinegar in it. And the reason for apple cider vinegar is because there's crazy amounts of clinical research about its ability to detox. But the big research behind it is apple cider vinegar's ability to stabilize blood sugar. And I want my blood sugar stabilized in the morning time. It helps control appetite for the rest of the day. So remove toxins. Remember, toxins have to be removed from the body, and you're getting ready to understand why. So if you are suffering from a toxicity buildup, so I'm just going to remember, where are these toxins coming from? believe it or not, water that's unfiltered, very toxic for a lot of people. Fluoride, a lot of things that your body don't needs in there. Number 2, shampoos, conditioners, lotions, toothpaste, you name it. Number 3, most of the food we eat that we buy in a bag or a box has some form of toxin in it. So when those build up over time, those are all the things you can expect to manifest. So if those fit you can't get energy. Now you got a caffeine addiction. You got bloating and gas. You got brain fog. You got all kind of things going on, migraines and headaches. A lot of that is toxin buildup. So how do we remove toxins? By the way, there's only 3 ways. You excrete it, which that comes into the water that you're going to be doing in the morning. You'll know because your first pee in the morning should be yellow to dark yellow, potentially even orangish looking. But after you do your first 20 ounces, it should be a light yellow. How you know you're doing it right is your third pee, which should occur within an hour and a half of waking up, should be pretty clear. Now you know, hey, I just got my t-shirt white again. I got my Clorox and my Tide, and my washing machine did its job. I've gone from a dark yellow now to a clean pee. So that is one way. The second way to detox the body is through sweating. Depending on where you live in the country, that's not easy to do sometimes without going to there's a lot of research showing that if you do sit in a sauna, that your cardiovascular risk decreases as much as 60% if you do it 3 to 5 times a week. I think there's lots of reasons for that. But one is the sweat pores are one of the absolute best ways to detoxify. So like with a Kim Gray that really struggled, I had her go outside. And when she was outside in the 100-degree heat, I had her with a sweatshirt and a bag around her. I told her to anyway, because she never sweated. She never drank enough water. And then the third way is deep breathing. So there's lots of deep breathing exercise on YouTube. Just Google it, deep breathing exercises. For those that do yoga, you know that that's a part of the staple in the yoga and the hot yoga world. But that's a detoxification thing. You're breathing it out. So you've got to address it, because if you don't, those toxins can't stay in the blood. So if you don't address the toxicity issue, the only place that toxin can store is a fat cell. That's a safe place for it. So when we start eliminating fat from the body in our weight loss journey, these toxins have to be dealt with, because what they're doing, they're trying to be dealt with and removed, but they're also just being pushed now to another fat cell as that fat cell diminishes. So we do have a product at Partner Co. It's called RestoreX. It's actually one of the best-selling products around the world, and I think in Europe they actually sell it in combination with the Skinny Drops, because a lot of people in Europe do smoke, which is probably one of the number one toxicity builders, that and alcohol. Which, addressing alcohol for just a second, alcohol is sugar. It is sugar. It's what it is. It's sugar. So if weight loss is a goal, getting healthy again is a goal, can you drink? Well, you can. You can do anything you want to do, but I wouldn't if I want to get healthy again for a period of time. Now, once you're healthy again or get to your ideal weight, a couple glasses of wine, 1 or 2 days a week, beer 2 or 3, 1 or 2 days a week, I don't think is detrimental, and it definitely won't make you gain weight. But if you're drinking 2 or 3 glasses of wine every night, and you're trying to get healthy at the same time, you're really, 90% of everything you're doing from working out, eating right, is being destroyed with your 3 glasses of wine, because you're spiking insulin, going to bed with spiked insulin. It's just a catastrophe. Okay, but add in this RestoreX for a month. This is a great plateau breaker, because it will address the toxicity issue. If you do the RestoreX, you've got to even up your water take even more. We have a patent on the particular form of, I'm trying to remember the word. I'm looking for it real quick. A spirulina, the zeolite. I'm sorry, my mind went blank for a minute. So you can get zeolite in a lot of places, but we actually get ours from the country of Austria. If you were to dig deep on Google, you can find a lot of studies over in the country of Austria about this zeolite. Crazy studies. We're able to make a lot more medical claims over there than we are here. But here we can say that zeolite is really good at removing heavy metals out of your body, which need to be removed. It's really, really good. Plus, it's got a lot of other things like activated charcoal and different things. If you do your research, many of you probably already do it already. Chlorea, chlorophyll, chia seeds, which I've already told you would be good in your shake. All that is in the RestoreX. Either do it once or twice a day. I get asked a lot, you need to stay on it. You can, depending on how toxic you are, to how much weight loss you need to lose, not detrimental. But most people cycle it. Do it for a month, then come off of it for a couple of months. Do it again for a month, however you want to do that. Our meal replacement shake is built under the low glycemic food index. So it's got the fiber in there to negate the simple carbs or sugars that might be in the Pure Nourish. Our Pure Nourish is not a protein shake. It is a plant-based protein, I think about 15 or 18 grams. But what it is, it's a total meal. So it is a great, great, great product if you're going to start your day with food. I'll go ahead and mention it here. I'm a big, big proponent. And I think if you do your own due diligence with YouTube, TikTok, whatever, that you're going to find that intermittent fasting is not a fad. The science behind fasting is biblical. It's been around forever. You know, there's a lot of things that come from fasting, but the number one thing that comes from fasting is your blood sugar stabilizes. And if you fast for 3 days or more, what's called autophagy starts occurring. Autophagy is when you eat your own cells for energy, but the body's hyper smart and it will eat all the bad cells. So if you've got a renegade cancer cell, something negative going on in your body, if you fast 3 days or longer and get your body into autophagy, it will actually go after and eat a lot of those bad cells for its energy. So it kind of cleans your body. One of my favorite doctors, he says you should do 2 7-day fasts a year. I'm not good at that. James Zing, who a lot of you guys know, he did the 7-day fast and ended up writing that book, the 7-day breakthrough or 5-day breakthrough. Maybe he did a 5-day fast. Still would be 2 days in autophagy, which would be good. So I read that. James Zing wrote the book. It's really, really, really good. You can see what he looks like. I mean, he's 35-ish now and got 6-pack. He looks fabulous. So I'm all about not eating as much as you can, eating in a window, but you've got to be really careful that you don't do it at the detriment of eating late at night. So you can't skip and not eat till 3 o'clock and then have all these stupid cravings and be eating stupid foods. A lot of times you get too hungry, you make bad decisions. So you've got to find the balance there. I would not try to do it much until I got on the approved food list for a couple of weeks and got my insulin stabilized, because when you get on the drops and you go to the approved food list, you're going to experience, if you're 70% of the country with sugar issues, you're going to experience some negative things. Rashes on the skin, detoxification. That's when rashes show up on the skin, that's toxins trying to come out. And you're not sweating, you're not drinking enough water. But in the keto diet, they call it the keto flu. When you come off of sugar, expect to feel like you have the flu for 2 to 5 days, depending on your body. So, you got to tell people that, because when people come here very unhealthy, they experience, when they start the drops, they actually feel worse that first week. And they think it's the drops. It's not. It's their body trying to get rid of all the addictions they've got, and they're having to deal with that for a minute. So educate your people on that. Let them know what they're about to experience, because it's very normal. It's a great sign to know that you've got a little bit of a headache. That means your body's trying to break your sugar addiction. You've got some rashes on your skin. Your body's trying to get rid of some toxins. You don't feel good for a few days. Well, good. Maybe you're working through now. We're going to get your metabolic syndrome under control. And we're going to get you burning fat again, where you don't have these lulls of no energy source at all because your body can't kick in. And then the last product I'm going to mention that is a great add-on to help all of this. Dr. Strand has always said this, but I thought this was really awesome. I got on a Zoom a couple of days ago with a nurse practitioner. She's almost, I think, a physician assistant now, whatever that is, right before you become a doctor. But she knows nothing about our company, nothing. But I asked her some questions because she was so knowledgeable on the homeopathic formulas. Because sometimes people read about an ingredient and they're like, oh, that ingredient's not even good for you. Well, it's a homeopathic formula. It's in micro doses. So she was saying things like, too much apricot seed can be very toxic to the body, but a little bit of apricot seed, like in a homeopathic dosage, is the best thing the body could ever have for a multitude of reasons. So our drops work under the homeopathic formula, which is called microdosing. But what she went into, because I mentioned to her that we have a lot of middle-aged females that 30 to 45 that are on antidepressants, they're on anti-anxiety medications. I'm like, why is this? And she says that after women have babies, a lot of times their bodies struggle nutrition-wise, meaning that they're depleted And all these issues arise because they don't ever get their body fixed again. So she's really big on taking a proper vitamin and mineral, giving your cells what they need, both vitamin and mineral in the right correlation. So the big three for me always is drops first, vitamin and mineral, and detox. To me, are tied for second. They're just great correlations, period. And then the meal replacement shake, if you want it. You don't have to have it. It's not replacing egg and avocado, but it is an easy, good way to have a 3-minute breakfast and stay right in the world. And you can add in our Giving Greens, which gives you 2 pounds of vegetables in there, lots of fiber, lots of good things you can add in there. So anyway, that's a whole lot of information, but I didn't want to shortchange this. I wanted everybody to see the big picture, because to get on here and say that all these issues we're dealing with are simple would be giving you false hope. So it's all cumulative. So what I'll do now is I'm done speaking, and we'll just kind of open this up for people to comment, ask questions, whatever they want to know. And you'll have to unmute on your side. Or Ashley and Brittany, anything y'all want to add in? This is y'all's call.
I do. So Ashley did some research. You guys have helped me so much with my PCOS. You know my story. Most of you do. But I was struggling with the facial hair, the male pattern baldness, all of those things. And I started the Magna-Cal D for the magnesium, helps level out help me, Ashley, my testosterone levels, right? Because as a woman with PCOS, I have higher testosterone levels, I have male baldness, facial hair. When I work out, I build muscle, I don't burn fat. And so Ashley did some research on that end, and the Magna-Cal D has changed the game. Like, I don't have all of this. I don't have my bald spot anymore. So it helped with my headaches and got my testosterone levels back to, where a woman needs to be.
So every woman, and by the way, my knowledge bank doesn't allow me to comment there. I don't have that in my knowledge bank. But I will tell you, every woman should be on our magnesium, calcium, vitamin D3, K2 product, Magna-Cal D. Every woman should be. Ashley, it's your favorite. I think Ashley Rowland, the Magna-Cal D and the probiotic are actually Ashley Rowland's 2 favorite products. Why don't you share why, Ashley?
Well, just as I'm in my prime, and the less hormones that start going through your body, those help, because the less hormones that go through your gut, that your gut gets unhealthy. So that's the reason why I do the probiotic. And also the Magna-Cal D, just because of the lack of the hormones that go through my body. So
yeah. One last thing on the probiotic. I think, everybody's becoming more and more knowledgeable. There's still people that are on this call are not going to know what I'm about to tell you, although some of you will. But, we're in right now strep throat, flu season. We're just in a time frame that a lot of people will get prescribed an antibiotic. And if you don't know what an antibiotic is, it is an agent that goes into your body and kills bacteria. But the problem with an antibiotic is it can't differentiate good bacteria and bad bacteria. And your gut desperately needs the good bacteria, desperately. So if you've gone through a round of antibiotics within the last couple of years and you have not replenished your gut health, the ability for you to lose weight and feel good is greatly hampered. So if you've gone through a round of antibiotics, it would be good to do our probiotic. I would do the 3-pack, and I would do 3 a day for that first month and start replenishing. You can't replenish it in a month. It takes time. This is weird to say because I'm so against milk, but there is a thing out there called kefir. It is not pasteurized. It's grown naturally. You can buy it at the store, although at the stores, kefirs generally are not very good because they have been pasteurized, and that kills all the bacteria anyway. But you can sometimes at your farmer's market find people that grow kefir, and you can for sure find people that like have a kefir starter. It's like a sourdough starter. Once you have the starter, you can just keep making your own kefir all the time. I know Benny and Gracie Turner that are approaching 80 and in the picture of health, they do that kefir every day. And they also drink what are the drinks that you can buy at the grocery store? They're also the probiotic drinks. I forgot what they're called. Somebody speak up. That my brain's just dead. I've done them. Go ahead, Kristen Dole. Add in. I didn't know you were here. You've been talking all the time.
You're muted.
You're muted, Kristen.
Okay, it would not let me unmute. I was trying and it kept saying, the host won't let me unmute. I was just going to add on to Brittany's comment because she said she added the Magna-Cal D in and it helped with regulating her testosterone, but it also probably helped with some of her estrogen and progesterone because vitamin D is a pro-hormone. So if you didn't know that, it is more than just a nutrient. It is going to help with the regulation in your endocrine system with the secretion and the production of all your hormones, whether that be in your sex hormones, your reproductive hormones. It's going to help with your insulin. It's going to help with your thyroid, your parathyroid, and all of those other hormones that are related to the endocrine system. So that's probably why that vitamin D took her to the next level with the PCOS. So I just wanted to add on with that so people were curious.
Yeah, and I'm going to add one more thing on that D3, Kristen. D3, according to a lot of the doctors that I really respect, is the number one nutrient that a person needs in their body to prevent disease and for overall health, energy, good sleep, you name it. It's the one vitamin that we can make ourselves. So, you've got to be careful listening to the media because the media will act like the sun is the devil. I will tell you, try moving a plant inside and not giving it water or sun and see what happens to that plant. Because that's exactly what we do to our body, especially those of you who live in the north. We take sunlight away and we don't give it water and we wonder why we get sick. I mean, we're just talking with the basic three things. So
the Magna-Cal D is one of my favorite, but I also sit in the sun I forcibly sit in the sun for 10 to 15 minutes without a shirt on. Whether if it's cold outside, I find a window and I sit there because I'm not going to get sun damage from 10 to 15 minutes of exposure, but your body will make more calciferol from the sun than you can ingest anyway. So if you can supplement both ways, and most of the time, if you're deficient in a D vitamin, you're going to be deficient in a B vitamin. It's going to be a precursor to many deficiencies. So that is a super, super powerful nutrient to intake. So one of my favorites as well. So just wanted to add in 2 cents. I've been listening the whole time.
Thanks,
so Ashley, this is your call. You don't have to raise your hand on your call. Speak up.
Hi. So just to throw something in, all supplements are not created equal. So that's why I love Partner Co. And I can trust that everything I take from them is exactly what they say it is. So just to kind of throw that out there. And if you guys have any questions about the products, get with the person that sent you here or that has sold you the drops or talked to you about Partner Co. And they can tell you how to get these other great products because truly they are great products and they have been life-changing.
Yeah, and that's the reason we have so many of our nutritional products in the physician desk reference. To include our vitamin mineral, to include our vitamin C product, which is a tremendous antioxidant, which is a story for another day. But let's just talk about the Magna-Cal D as an illustration purposes. Do your own research. Don't trust me. Go Google the different forms of magnesium and the different forms of calcium, which ones are good for you, which ones are bad for you. And then look what's in our Magna-Cal D and go look at Walmart or Walgreens and look what's in their magnesium, calcium products. And you'll be like, oh my God, I would never there's a lot of people that don't realize that you can get poisoned from taking the wrong nutrition too. So the last step on the Magna-Cal D is the way it was formulated is that there is now tremendous research backing up calcium deposits in arteries being not one of many things that could potentially cause cardiovascular problems. So we don't want that. That's where you got to be really careful with calcium supplementation. But if you do your research deep enough, you'll find that K2 is the carrier that won't allow it to get in there. So you'll notice that is why K2 is added into our magnesium calcium product. Also, I think our magnesium product's about $40 range, but you got to realize that's 4 ingredients. You're getting D3, you're getting magnesium, you're getting your calcium, and you're getting your K2. So it's a 4-in-1 product. So even if you buy the cheap stuff, a lot of times you end up paying more trying to go out and buy that kind of stuff individually. I'll tell you the one that will really scare you is B12. B12 is another very, very, very important product. It's in your skinny drops. It's in the Accelerate. Ours is what's called methylated. It's called methoxycolabine. It's the one form of B12 that our body can digest. 98% of all B12s in the marketplace, outside of the injection you get at the doctor, they're going to give you the methylated form too, same as ours. But they're going to give you the cyanocolabine, standing for cyanide. The cyanocolabine not even, we want to talk about it not being good for you. It's not even digestible. You can't use it. It's not even worth it. The body's not going to be able to use it. But if you go to the store and buy it, that's what you're going to get. So you're putting what you think is good in your body, wondering now you're not feeling better, and you're actually just putting more trash in your body. So that's all. A lot of this stuff, I mean, I got my master's in nutrition 30 years ago. You know, I learned this from Elon Musk about 8 or 9 years ago. You can now get a doctorate degree from YouTube, now TikTok, that used to would cost you $100,000 to go to university and get. And it could probably be better because you can kind of pick your professors on there, the ones that you can kind of line up and kind of, what I do with all of them is cross-check them, meaning that I never listen to a particular doctor. I listen to a group of doctors that all end up aligning, and then that's when I feel comfortable sharing it with other people.
Tracy has a question, Todd.
Okay. Got to unmute. Everybody's got to unmute that has a question.
Oh, there it went. Okay. No, I was just going to attest to the products as well. My cousin, I got her on the drops, and we have a strong family history of digestive issues. So I got her on the probiotics, but I also got her to stop the Coffee Mate. Everybody's like, well, it's sugar-free, doesn't have cholesterol. Circulose is the worst thing. If you look it up, it'll kill the probiotic in your gut. And she was having severe bouts of diarrhea. I said, stop. And she's got a history of C. diff. And the second time, it almost killed her. So I said, you need to quit that. So she told me she quit her coffee.
There is only one approved sweetener. One. And that's the form of stevia that doesn't have maltodextrin in it. One. That's the only one. So, Kristen White, could you, are you available for a Saturday morning 10 o'clock training where you could cover like probiotic, Magna D, vitamin and mineral, pure nourish, like some things like we just give you the morning? Because Kristen White is on our scientific advisory board. She trains professional athletes, can actually fly to her from all over the country. I think she's, especially as far as its athletic performance concerned, I think she's the smartest one in our company. But she ranks right up there with a Dr. Strand in product comparisons, like understanding the wrong forms of different ingredients. So, Kristen, why don't you tell us what Saturday you have? I know you run a gym on Saturdays, and we'll book it in, and everybody can look. We can start promoting it now.
Yeah, I can do next Saturday.
I was hoping you would say that. I just didn't want to put you on the spot. Okay. Yeah. So Brittany, Ashley, Antley, and Kristen White, y'all three are going to be in charge next Saturday, as long as y'all don't have to work, Ashley. But y'all three will all talk. Because Brittany, I want you sharing some personal things because Kristen's science is going to be really good, but your story of how you're now approaching 100 pounds and your PCOS is not under control, but better, is equally as powerful as the science. Both go hand in hand.
Yeah, I would love to do that.
Okay,
thanks,
so
Kristen.
That'll be next Saturday. So we won't get off the train on everything, but we will just cover, the basics that are all going to tie into the weight loss, the metabolic syndrome, the overall health. I mean, if you come over, everybody's coming to my house knows when they go in my pantry, like, oh my gosh. I mean, we always have a minimum of 10 boxes of MOA. We have 10 boxes of Noni. I've got 100 bottles of Noni. If you read up on Noni, it's got like 8,000 published papers. You would never not drink Noni if you actually read about what it does for your body. I don't promote it a lot, but it's a superfood of all superfoods. It's unbelievably good for you. One of the reason I became a believer in Noni is I had to have surgery, and I was having an issue after surgery, and somebody told me the Noni had tremendous healing power, and literally in 48 hours, my issue went away. And Kristen, you experienced the same thing. I can't even remember what had happened. You fell, you broke something. I can't remember what it was, and your dad told you what the Noni did for me, and it did the same for you.
Yeah. Well, 2 years ago, I actually had a partial hysterectomy, and I found out I had massive cysts in my abdomen, and I was swollen up it looked like I'd swallowed a basketball. And before I ever actually had the cyst removed, I was that swollen, and I drank 2 bottles of Noni in 48 hours, which is pretty extreme, but I was serious about getting that inflammation out. And within I mean, at the end of that second bottle, it looked like my stomach was back to normal. And I went into surgery completely like flattened out again. Of course, I came out of surgery and, you've been cut on and pulled on and I swelled back up. But after 5 days post surgery, you're not supposed to be cleared to exercise for a couple weeks. And I had a surgery on a Friday. I called my doctor on Tuesday and I said, hey, I'm ready to go again. He was like, what? And I was like, I feel good enough to start exercising again. I drank 2 more bottles of Noni over that weekend. I never took a pain pill, not one. And I mean, literally within a week, my swelling was completely back to normal again. And I was back to moving and exercising within a week after surgery. So, which was a little bit unheard of. So I really attributed it to that. And I think it's because the Noni has those adaptogen effects. So it kind of goes into your body. And it's almost like it says, what's wrong? And I'm going to the source. So it's like a mama. A mama goes down when the kid falls and she just goes and, takes care of the issue. That's kind of what I feel like Noni does. It goes into the body and figures out what it needs to deliver nutrients to.
So next Saturday, we'll give you we'll just let that kind of like this call was. It's going a little longer than an hour. Next Saturday morning, we'll just go open-ended. People can hop off if they run out of time. But we'll do Noni, MOA, Renew, Skinny Drops, and then some of the core nutrition that Kristen incorporates into athletic performance and her helping a lot of people there in that area overcome issues they're dealing with in their body. But what you don't want to do, and we'll end the call with this, you don't want to get messed up going around diagnosing people because, one, that gets us in trouble. Number two, you're never going to have a business trying to do that. So keep the main thing, but this all comes in on the back end. When people get in, they make a commitment to getting better health, and then they can get trained up and then match up with their needs. Like everybody some people may need a probiotic, some people may need the Magna-Cal D, some people may have some healing going on, want to add some extra Noni in, inflammation with MOA. Kristen will identify what each one's for. So Ashley, your hand's raised. I'm going to turn to you and Brittany. It was y'all's call and let y'all close it out.
Hey, real quick, I think Liz had a quick question. Liz Thurman.
Okay, Liz. Sorry about that, Liz.
I don't see her. You may have to ask her to unmute. I've been having to do that for everybody.
Don't forget to unmute. She put something in the text, so I was going to try to catch it real quick.
Liz.
Can you read it? Hey. Oh, hey, Liz.
I was okay. Hey, good morning. Hey, Todd. First, just want to say thank you. Wow, good information. I do have a quick question about the intermittent fasting, and this may not be the time and place to go into great detail about that. What do you exactly eat or drink on the intermittent fasting? Is it liquid only, and do you continue with the drops and the nutrients? So that 5 day.
Perfect time to ask, and I can answer it really quick. So,
okay.
Because I never even finished my thought pattern with the intermittent fasting anyway. I kind of left everybody hanging because I had mentioned you don't want to do it at the detriment of eating it late at night. So really what a person wants to do is get their eating window in an 8-hour range, because that gives your body 16 hours without eating to deal with sugar, to get everything stabilized. That can go as far for your health as anything we're talking about. Now, that 8-hour window can be different for everybody. My wife, Ashley Rowland, she naturally, her whole life, gets up, eats first thing in the morning, but literally will eat like a baby handful at 5 o'clock for dinner. And she never has a snack at night. And she walks around at 120 pounds. And she doesn't eat near as clean as I do. But she keeps that fasting window and not eating at night naturally. So that's the best way to do it. But most people are easier to do it later in the day. They wake up not as hungry. I'm that person. So I always go, my day's different every day. I tried to do it perfectly, and like eat at 4 o'clock and not eat again after 8. But I found that every day my body was hungry, not hungry. My goal is always 8 hours. So whenever I take my first bite, I'm going to take my last bite 8 hours later. So when you're doing that, you absolutely take the drops 3 times a day. So if there is if you get up and you're only going to eat 1 or 2 meals, because the number one way to do it, according to the longevity professor at Harvard, that's my favorite person to follow. He's really big on the what's it called? OMAD, 1 meal a day, meaning he only eats 1 meal a day. And a lot of times it's still very, very healthy. That's the genius way to do it, but everybody can't do that, nor should everybody do it. Everybody's schedule's different. And I'm not talking to people at Kristen's gym. That's a whole different world. If you're working out now, trying to feed muscle, recuperate, this is just the normal everyday people. So just find that window. But if you are going to go long periods during the day without eating, still spread those drops, get them in your underneath your tongue 3 times per day. Keep them under there at least 30 seconds, even longer. Let them really get in there good. And as far as liquid, yes, it has to be liquid only, but unsweetened green tea, unsweetened tea, coffee, even what they call fat bomb coffee, which means either butter or MCT oil in there. Almost 0 calorie almond milk if you got to have some flavor, but 30 calories I think is the least you can get. So you're going to affect it a little bit, but if you need it, do it. Don't let it ruin the whole operation. But a fat bomb, meaning MCT oil and butter or butter. And the black coffee would be even better than 30 calories. But I do, although I intermittent fast, I do put every morning. My wife now makes it homemade. You can buy like an almond cow for like $100, $200 and make your own, which is, I have no calories basically in it, especially no sugar. So you can make your own almond milk or different kind of nut milks there too, and put in your coffee.
Thank you, Todd. It's been great. We appreciate all the info, for real. Share this with somebody that has a story like a lot of us do, the PCOS, the insulin resistance, the pre-diabetes. There's a lot of us out there, and sometimes we don't tell it, and we kind of just hide. So reach out to some people that you think this could help, and we'll get the recording out later. I think Reese is taking care of that, and then share it with somebody that this could help, because Todd and these drops have changed my life.
Yeah. And Brittany will tell you, Kim Gray will tell you, I'm never going to tell a person what to do unless they ask. If they ask and they're serious, I'm really hard, because like this is not an easy journey. If it was easy, 70% of the people wouldn't be walking around overweight with metabolic syndrome. It's hard. Like it's crazy hard. Especially those of you that are addicted to sugar. It is an addiction. People don't gamble their money away or become alcoholics or drug addicts on purpose. They can't overcome it. It's an addiction. Sugar, according to Bright Line Eating and this neurologist, is more addicting than cocaine. So listen, it's going to be a trying journey that sometimes you fall off the train and have to get up again. But every time they called me, especially Kim, because Kim tried to quit on me like 20 times in the early days. I just said, listen, Kim, you told me you wanted to lose 100 pounds and not be in a wheelchair. Like you can't do that and expect the result you're asking me for. This is what you're going to have to do. So like, it's okay to fail. Just don't fail every day. Just get off the train and let's restart tomorrow.
Thanks, Todd.
Okay. Y'all have a great one. Everybody have a blessed day.
Thanks, Todd.